Have you worked hard to grow your crypto wealth? If you were to die today, would your loved ones even know how to access the crypto that you've been putting your hard-earned money towards? Or would it become part of the over $500 billion in crypto assets lost to the abyss forever due to poor planning? I'm an estate planning attorney, and I help clients protect their assets, including their cryptocurrency. Here's what you need to do. First, you got to think of cryptocurrency as being divided into three main categories. The first one is centralized exchanges. If you've used crypto, you're probably familiar with it. Something like Coinbase or Kraken or FTX. Essentially, the way that it works is you create an account, you put in your email address, you set a password, and then you have an account. The website that you log in tells you that you can buy Bitcoin. You just have to give your debit card, or you've got to connect your bank account or something like that. They make it very easy. You don't have to connect to the blockchain directly. You don't have to download anything. You don't have to understand software. They make it very easy for just ordinary people who don't want to learn about all the tech side of stuff. What you need to understand is that any asset that you own in your own name, such as a Coinbase account and those assets in it, they go to your estate. The estate is just comprised of what someone owned solely in their own name. The way that someone actually inherits from an estate is it goes through what's called the probate process. Now, probate is a court process. It's fairly notorious because it is long, it is drawn out, it is expensive, and it can be a real hassle for loved ones who just lost somebody they care about. So how do you avoid probate? Well, there's a few ways to go about doing it, but here's what you need to know. Number one, name a beneficiary on your centralized exchange account. If you have Coinbase, Google Coinbase, name a beneficiary, something like that, and it'll take you to the page where you can name a beneficiary. The way that beneficiary designations work is that any assets in that account automatically go to the person you've named as the beneficiary. And the great thing is it completely avoids probate and does not have to go through court. At the time of recording this video, I was looking up the process for naming a beneficiary on a Coinbase account. There used to be an older way of doing it where you needed to pay for their premium product. I think it was called a gold account. And the only way you could name a beneficiary is if you had the paid account. It looks like they winded down their paid premium subscription. And now it looks like they don't provide beneficiary designations at all. If you have a Coinbase account, I'd recommend contacting their customer service and letting them know that you need this feature for your estate planning. And if anybody at Coinbase is listening, I mean, come on, you're a billion-dollar company. The least you can do for your customers is the bare minimum. So number one, if you're looking for the easy option, name a beneficiary on your account. Now, the next one's a little bit more involved, and this is for people who hold their assets outside of a centralized exchange. This is called self-custody. It means that the only person or entity responsible for handling those assets are you. Self-custody is a little bit more complicated than just an account on Coinbase. Essentially, you need to understand how the blockchain works in order to understand what self-custody means. So the blockchain shows transaction to transaction, showing everything that has occurred on the blockchain. So for example, it'll say on September 21st, 1 Bitcoin was created. On September 23rd, 0.2 Bitcoins were transferred to this person. And essentially the blockchain is the long chain that has the receipts from every single transaction that has ever occurred. Now, your wallet is on the blockchain, and the wallet is what holds your assets. The way that you access those assets in the wallet that are on the blockchain are through a seed phrase. A seed phrase is essentially a string of random English words that, when put together, create a code that unlocks a wallet on the blockchain so that whoever has that seed phrase, or that password you can think of it as, they have full access to be able to move any of the digital assets on that wallet from the blockchain directly. One downside of self-custody is that you are completely responsible for not losing your seed phrase, because if you lose your seed phrase, then you're not going to be able to access the wallet on the blockchain to be able to move their assets and they will be stuck there frozen forever. It's estimated that about 30% or more of all Bitcoin that will ever exist is lost just due to poor management and someone just losing the computer that, 10 years ago that they had their passwords and their seed phrase on. So if you have a hot wallet, make sure you know where you have your seed phrase saved. There's something called a billfold that you can buy that essentially has little pegs that are etched in steel, and you can save your seed phrase on this. And so that if your computer ever breaks and you can't access the information about what your seed phrase was, you can re-enter it into MetaMask and reload it so that you can continue to access your wallet as if nothing happens. But one downside of it is that anybody who has access to your key phrase can access all of the assets on your wallet and remove everything. I would recommend keeping your seed phrase somewhere safe. Normally I keep estate planning documents I suggest in a fireproof safe. Just stick it in there, put a note for your executor that this is the key phrase for my digital assets, my cryptocurrency, and that way they will always be able to access it. One other option is that you can save your seed phrase in a password saving program such as Bitwarden, but they are at risk because anyone who ever hacks your computer or gets access to that software will access essentially the keys to your wallet that could allow them to drain it completely. If your loved ones don't know anything about how this works, what is a seed phrase? What is a Bitcoin? What is a cryptocurrency? Think of a family friend or someone who's trustworthy who does understand these things. And on that little device, just write a note saying, talk to this person and tell them that you have the key phrase or the seed phrase for a crypto wallet and ask them to help. When they're going through your documents, they'll see this thing, they'll wonder, what is this? What do I do with this? And you'll give them a note so that they know what to do, and then they'll be able to get some guidance from someone who actually knows how to view these assets and access them. Now, if you don't have a hot wallet and you just use Coinbase because that's what you're comfortable with, just stick with Coinbase. Set a beneficiary designation, have your password written down somewhere, make sure that your executor or whoever your successor is knows where to access this information, and you are covered. One other self-custody option is what's called a cold wallet. There are different devices that manufacturers make that essentially hold a seed phrase without that seed phrase ever having to go onto your computer. If you have a ledger or some kind of cold wallet that holds your assets, number one, keep your ledger device or your hardware device in your safe. But you're also going to want one of the billfolds or some kind of etched metal so that if something goes wrong with the hardware wallet, you can always just reboot directly by entering the full key phrase. Now, one very important thing to understand about self-custody, either a hot wallet or a cold wallet, is that if you lose the seed phrase, you lose access to those assets forever. There's no Bitcoin customer service you can call and say, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot my password. I'm locked out. Can you reset it for me? That's one of the major disadvantages of self-custody and why it's so important to make sure that you have this information safely stored as part of your estate plan so that these assets are not lost and locked away forever. I've created a guide. It's completely free. It's called the Estate Planner's Guide to Planning for Your Digital Assets. And what it has is a step-by-step printout where you can write down this information so that your executor or your successor knows where they can access this important information.